China is concerned about the potential military use of Starling satellites. Chinese researchers suspect that the combination of soft and complex methods of devastation may impact the network's functionality. Elon Musk had a significant part in the conflict between Russia and Ukraine. Thus, threats are also coming from that country. All of the Starling satellites will be destroyed, according to Russian claims. However, Elon Musk appears to be unstoppable due to Starling's defenses. Why is the world's richest man at odds with superpowers like Russia and China? You'll be shocked to learn. Recent calls for destroying Elon Musk's Starling satellites from Chinese military researchers were an unusual threat from a country like China against a foreign private firm. Two of Musk's Starling satellites have in April and October of 2020 come perilously close to colliding with the TI module of China's Tango space station, according to a complaint made to the UN in December 2021. Chinese astronauts were compelled to modify the station's module to avoid the collision. Starling satellites are a component of a proposal to offer internet connectivity from satellites worldwide to put roughly 12,000 into low Earth orbit. There is always a possibility of colliding with satellites or space debris as space becomes increasingly crowded. One of China's inactive weather satellites was destroyed in January 2007 during the nation's first successful anti-satellite missile ASAT test, which is telling because China caused one of the most significant space debris incidents ever recorded. There is still a daily chance because of the roving space junk. The United States disagreed with China's accusations that the Starling satellites had endangered its space station. The U.S. claimed that it would have warned China if there had been a high likelihood of colliding with China's space station. Since the operations did not adhere to the established emergency collision criterion, emergency notifications were not required in either circumstance. Then China decided to go even further. They threatened to shoot down Musk's Starlink satellites with their military scientists. However, China's belief that Starlink could be used for military purposes seems more of a problem than worry over a crash. It is endangering China's national security, as it is known. Researcher Ren Yuanzhen is a member of the People's Liberation Army's Beijing Institute of Tracking and Telecommunications. He was one of 5 prominent scientists in China's defense sector who recently stated that it would be best to use a combination of soft and hard kill approaches to render some Starlink satellites inoperable and wipe out the constellation software. Soft death approaches target the satellite's operating systems and software, whereas brutal kill methods, such as using an ASAT weapon, physically destroy the satellite. According to scientists, China must maintain and gain an advantage in space to compete in the competitive space race. It needs to work hard to come up with Starlink defenses. It's hardly shocking that China has avidly copied Elon Musk's SpaceX to achieve its space ambitions. For instance, the components utilized to control the SpaceX Falcon 9 rocket were almost identical to those in China's Long March 2C rocket, which had launched in the summer of 2019. Not just China has declared interest in interfering with Musk's Starlink satellites as a state. Now that Moscow is convinced that SpaceX's Starlink satellites were employed to bring down the Mossad, the fallout from the MOVA sinking sparked a string of events. The Starlink satellite of Elon Musk is under attack from Russia. Russia also attempted to interfere with Starlink's internet service in Ukraine but failed. In May, Musk tweeted, "Russian attempts to hack and jam Starlink have been unsuccessful, but they are stepping up their efforts." Starlink is a concern for Russia since it has assisted Ukraine in maintaining its connections to the internet and the rest of the world, despite efforts by Russian President Vladimir Putin to cut off such ties. Musk began deploying Starlink terminals to Ukraine in late February in response to a request from Ukrainian government officials to prepare for the inevitable Russian attempt to cut down internet connectivity. According to a U.S. general, using Starlink in Ukraine prevented Putin from isolating the nation. Ultimately failed was Putin's information campaign. Brigadier General Steve Doe, who oversees the Defense Innovation Unit's space portfolio, claimed that he has never been able to silence Zelensky. According to Mykola Fedorov, Vice Prime Minister of Ukraine, we have more than 11,000 Starlink stations that assist us in our everyday conflicts. On to everyone. Even without electricity or established internet, we are prepared to re-establish any connection in Ukraine using generators and Starlink. It is crucial to realize that Russia started destroying all main Ukrainian internet towers and services as soon as the war broke out. It is presently causing a national internet blackout. by stating that his firm Tesla would pay Ukrainians who return from abroad to fight against Russia. Elon Musk intervened to rescue the day. A salary for 3 months. Within 2 weeks of making this gift, Elon Musk dispatched thousands of Starling satellite internet dishes to Ukraine. This happened when France and Poland donated money to the Biden administration. As various media outlets have stated, this demonstrates that Starlink is not a civilian organization. The article claims that Ukraine uses Elon Musk's Starlink to direct drones during drone attacks and to assault Russian tanks from positions where his satellites supply internet service. This is demonstrated by how Moscow was sunk, even though some citizens would have taken advantage of it for their benefit. The U.S.'s primary goal was to support Ukraine in its conflict with Russia by ensuring an unbroken internet supply, which Ukraine has accomplished equally well up to this point. Russia will be nursing its wounds because Moscow was among its most esteemed battleships. It was also discovered that Moscow FA was carrying 2 nuclear weapons. It was revealed by Andrei Clement, project manager at the Black Sea Institute for Strategic Studies, that analysts asserted the Mosa was equipped with 2 nuclear warheads for cruise missiles. Nobody knows what will happen, but there appears to be an impending catastrophe. Threats made against Elon Musk by China. Starling also proves that it will not permit anyone to hinder its aggressive space game. General David Thompson, the first Deputy Chief of Space Operations for the U.S. Space Force, referred to it as a shadow war, in an apparent effort to downplay the danger the Chinese Communist Party posed to the West. China, and to a lesser extent, Russia frequently use lasers, radio frequency jammers, and separate attacks to target American satellites in this region. Even though the attacks are reversible, they reveal China's malign intentions. Hence, the damage caused to the attacking satellites is only momentary. The risks are getting worse and more frequent every day, which is the development of a long-standing problem. We have reached a point where a broad spectrum of possible dangers to our space systems exists, Thompson said last year. In addition to its competitive space race, China is forging ahead with several measures to improve its space capabilities significantly. China reportedly plans to launch a solar power station into orbit sooner than previously. By converting solar energy into microwaves or lasers and focusing it, the facility aims to transmit electricity to Earth. When the project is sent into space for the first time in 2028, it will be the first of its type. According to accounts, China probably stole the idea from the U.S. Similar recommendations were made by NASA more than 20 years ago, but they were never implemented. Before they return to the Earth in December, 3 astronauts will work on completing the Chang'e space station. On China's most recent rudimentary expedition to the T module of the Tiangong space station, China only recently launched the first module of the Tiangong space station in April 2021. Still, China intends to have the space station completely assembled and operational by the end of the year, when it will have 2 additional science lab modules and a robotic supply ship. The space station will also help China deploy and operate the Jiaqian Space Telescope, a replacement for NASA's Aging Hubble Space Telescope. It will make observations in ultraviolet and visible light, and research galaxy evolution, dark matter, and dark energy cosmology, and the finding of neighboring objects with a 300-fold more enormous field of vision and equivalent resolution. China wants to surpass the United States as the main space power, and Zhongqin is anticipated to launch in 2024, to do so by 2045. It is essential to remember that despite appearing to be an innocent civil component of space research, China's space program is heavily militarized. For instance, the China Manned Space Engineering Office develops technology for the Chinese Central Military Commission, oversees the nation's human spaceflight program. Similar to how it controls China's satellites, the People's Liberation Army also owns China's launch pads and command centers. Elon Musk's Starlink threatens China, which makes sense considering their near-term objectives. Will Elon respond if Starlink is attacked? Without a sure, we are interested in seeing how everything plays out. That's all for today. Thanks for watching the video.